Huang Bo's journey is unlike any other in Chinese entertainment. From a bar singer and dance instructor in Qingdao to one of the nation's most bankable stars, his rise defied every expectation. He wasn't the tall, handsome idol the industry usually celebrated. He was the man who looked like a neighbor, yet could make millions laugh and cry on screen. But fame is never simple. Alongside record-breaking success came whispers of overexposure, doubts about his artistic ambition, and the challenges of censorship. Stay tuned, because on Criminal Tracks, we uncover not only his rise, but the hidden struggles behind it. In 1974, in the coastal city of Qingdao, in Shandong province, Huang Bo entered the world far from the spotlight that would later define his name. His family was ordinary, without connections to cinema, art, or politics, and certainly without the wealth or privilege often associated with Chinese celebrities. Life in Qingdao during the late 70s and 80s was modest, defined by a nation that was still finding its footing after turbulent decades. For a boy like Huang Bo, opportunity was not guaranteed. What set him apart from his peers was not his academic record, which was average at best, but a restless curiosity and a natural inclination toward performance. From a young age, he displayed a knack for entertaining people through song, dance, and humor. As a teenager, he drifted toward music, singing in bars and local venues, learning to connect with audiences face to face. These small performances sharpened his ability to read a room and adjust his style, a skill that would later become his signature as an actor. To supplement income, he worked as a dance instructor and took odd jobs. At one point, he even dabbled in small entrepreneurial ventures, running businesses that reflected his hustler's instinct to survive in a competitive world. This mix of experiences, music, dance, business, formed the foundation of a personality that was flexible, adaptable, and above all, resilient. Unlike many of China's leading actors, Huang Bo was not blessed with conventional good looks. In an industry obsessed with idols defined by sharp jawlines and picture-perfect appearances, he stood out for looking like the man next door. For years, this was an obstacle. Casting directors often overlooked him, dismissing him as unsuitable for leading roles. But rejection did not drive him away from the stage. Instead, he doubled down, eventually pursuing formal training at the Beijing Film Academy. It was a late start compared to many of his peers, who entered the academy as teenagers. By the time Huang Bo joined, he was already older, more experienced in the hardships of life, and perhaps more skeptical of the industry's glittering promises. At the academy, he was known for his work ethic and his refusal to be discouraged by criticism. Teachers and classmates alike noticed that he approached roles with a grounded, lived-in authenticity. Where others relied on charm, he brought realism. Where others tried to dazzle, he aimed for connection. This authenticity would later become his greatest strength. Still, the road after graduation was not smooth. He spent years in relative obscurity, appearing in small projects, taking whatever roles he could, and continuing to sing at venues to support himself. Success seemed distant, and the possibility of returning to a quiet life outside of acting loomed large. The turning point arrived in 2006 with the release of Crazy Stone, a low-budget black comedy directed by Ning Hao. Huang Bo played a small-time crook in the film, and his performance struck a chord with audiences across China. Here was an actor who didn't look like a star, but who made people laugh, think, and see a reflection of themselves on screen. The film became a sleeper hit, unexpectedly dominating the box office. For Huang Bo, it was more than just a career boost. It was proof that talent and authenticity could triumph over surface-level beauty in a culture that often valued appearances first. Almost overnight, his name was on everyone's lips. Directors who had once ignored him now wanted him. The public embraced him as a breath of fresh air, a symbol of the ordinary man rising to the top in an industry that seemed closed off to outsiders. For audiences tired of polished idols, Huang Bo was relatable, trustworthy, and genuinely funny. His comedic timing felt effortless, but behind it was years of honing instincts in bars, dance studios, and forgotten roles. This period of his life highlights not only his perseverance, but also the fragility of opportunity in the entertainment industry. Had Crazy Stone failed, his story might have ended differently. Instead, it became a launching pad for a career that would redefine the idea of a leading man in Chinese cinema. Huang Bo had transformed rejection into fuel, setbacks into lessons, and chance into destiny. By the late 2000s, he was no longer an outsider struggling for scraps. He was the rising face of a new wave of Chinese actors, standing on the edge of stardom. The years following Crazy Stone were transformative, not only for Huang Bo, but for the landscape of Chinese cinema itself. In the late 2000s and early 2010s, audiences were craving entertainment that blended humor with social commentary, and Huang Bo's face became synonymous with that shift. He was no longer just a breakout star from a sleeper hit. He was a man in demand, carrying projects that were rapidly climbing to the top of the box office. One of the key milestones in this ascent came with Lost in Thailand in 2012, a film that revolutionized China's comedy genre and cemented his status as a national favorite. The movie, filled with slapstick humor and heartfelt moments, smashed box office records, becoming the first Chinese film to gross over 1 billion yuan domestically. For Huang Bo, the success was both professional and symbolic. He had gone from being the actor no one believed in to one of the few capable of drawing millions of people to theaters based on name alone. Critics and fans alike began referring to him as part of the Billion Yuan Club, a small circle of stars whose involvement could guarantee commercial triumph. But what made Huang Bo resonate so deeply with audiences wasn't just his comedic ability. He had a gift for layering sincerity beneath the laughs. While his characters often found themselves in ridiculous predicaments, he played them with enough heart and subtlety that viewers saw more than just jokes. They saw fragments of their own struggles, desires, and imperfections. His style of humor wasn't about mocking others from a pedestal. It was about laughing together, finding absurdity in everyday life, and revealing the vulnerability of the human condition. Alongside comedy, Huang Bo gradually explored roles that tested his dramatic range. Films like Journey to the West, Conquering the Demons, 2013 highlighted his ability to handle fantasy and action while still grounding the story in recognizable humanity. Audiences learned that he was not confined to one box. He could switch from a lovable everyman to a layered figure of authority, or even a trickster with ease. That versatility made him invaluable to directors who wanted more than just a comic relief character. He became the anchor that could hold a film together, regardless of genre. Despite his commercial dominance, Huang Bo cultivated an image that set him apart from other stars. Unlike actors who flaunted luxury cars, designer brands, or extravagant mansions, he deliberately leaned into humility. Interviews painted him as down-to-earth, a man who still remembered his bar-singing days and avoided the arrogance fame often brings. In a culture where public perception can make or break a career, this relatability became one of his most powerful tools. Fans believed in him not just as an actor, but as a person, someone who hadn't let success distort his character. At the same time, whispers began to circulate about how carefully this image was managed. Some critics suggested that his ordinary guy persona was not entirely natural, but was being strategically preserved to appeal to the masses. Others argued that his reluctance to take riskier artistic roles was evidence of a career overly focused on maintaining commercial dominance, rather than pursuing artistic growth. Yet, even these criticisms revealed a certain respect. People expected more from Huang Bo because they had already seen what he could do. As the 2010s progressed, Huang Bo's influence extended beyond acting. He became a symbol of the rise of domestic Chinese cinema, showing that local productions could compete with Hollywood imports and dominate the market. His films weren't just popular, they were cultural events, sparking discussions, parodies, and even memes across the internet. In many ways, his career paralleled China's growing confidence in its entertainment industry. During this period, he also made calculated moves in his personal life and finances. Rather than indulging in reckless spending, he invested in real estate and other stable ventures, ensuring that his wealth was preserved. This financial prudence reinforced the narrative of him as a grounded, intelligent figure who valued long-term security over flashy appearances. Rumors of affairs, addictions, or financial scandals that plagued many celebrities never seemed to stick to him. He managed to stay clean in an environment where mistakes were magnified and exploited. His public statements often reflected the same wisdom. One of his most quoted remarks was, "People love me because I look like their neighbor, not because I look like a star." The phrase captured the essence of his appeal: relatability. In a world of carefully manufactured beauty, Huang Bo embraced imperfection and made it aspirational. Yet the very thing that made him beloved also created tension. Audiences adored his comedies, but the industry began to question whether he would ever take on more artistically ambitious roles. Was he destined to be remembered as a box office guarantee, but not as a groundbreaking actor? This debate echoed in film circles, with some suggesting that his risk-averse choices limited his legacy. For years, he seemed content with projects that balanced humor and mass appeal, rarely stepping outside that comfort zone. Still, at his peak, Huang Bo was untouchable in terms of influence. He was a regular presence at film festivals, award ceremonies, and major entertainment events, often serving as a bridge between mainstream audiences and the more elite circles of cinema. His ability to straddle both worlds, popular comedy and serious drama, was rare, and it gave him leverage few could match. By the end of the 2010s, his career was a study in contrasts. The humility of his image against the staggering wealth his films generated, the everyman persona against his elite industry status, and the comedic roles that brought laughter against the lingering question of whether he would step into something more profound. He had become one of China's most recognizable faces, a man who had climbed to the very top without ever fitting the mold of what a star was supposed to be. By the late 2010s, Huang Bo had reached a point few Chinese actors could ever dream of. He was not only one of the country's most bankable stars, but also a household name whose presence promised a familiar blend of humor and authenticity. Yet with great fame came new challenges. The industry and the audience that once celebrated his rise began to scrutinize his every choice, and the very persona that made him beloved started to feel like both a blessing and a burden. One of the first criticisms that began to follow him was overexposure. With his face appearing in blockbuster after blockbuster, some viewers argued that the novelty of the ordinary guy, made extraordinary, was wearing thin. Films that might have once been embraced with excitement were now met with skepticism, with audiences questioning whether Huang Bo was taking projects for art or simply for profit. Certain releases were branded as cash grabs, with storylines that seemed rushed or formulaic. For a man who had built his reputation on quality and relatability, these whispers of mediocrity struck at the core of his public image. Another layer of controversy emerged around his professional relationships. While Huang Bo was known publicly for being humble and approachable, industry insiders occasionally hinted at tensions behind the scenes. Speculation grew about disagreements with directors or disputes over contracts, though none of these were ever officially confirmed. In a business where rumors can shape careers as much as facts, the idea that Huang Bo might be difficult to work with sparked heated discussions online. Some argued that such speculation was simply the price of success, while others feared it hinted at cracks in his carefully maintained persona. Government censorship also complicated his career. As China's entertainment industry fell under stricter control, films often faced delays, re-edits, or even cancellations if they were deemed politically sensitive. A few of Huang Bo's projects were caught in these regulatory nets, fueling rumors about whether his roles or scripts had crossed invisible lines. While he himself was never directly accused of political missteps, the unpredictability of censorship left fans wondering if his choices would be limited going forward. In an environment where one wrong move could erase years of work, the pressure was immense. Meanwhile, the debate about his artistic depth persisted. Critics questioned whether he had grown too comfortable with commercial comedies, neglecting the more challenging or experimental side of cinema. Social media debates flared up with each new release, with some fans defending his consistency and others accusing him of failing to evolve. For an actor who once embodied resilience and risk-taking, this criticism stung. The question loomed. Was Huang Bo destined to be remembered as a reliable entertainer rather than a transformative artist? To his credit, Huang Bo did not retreat in the face of these challenges. Instead, he began exploring new avenues, particularly directing. His move behind the camera was ambitious, signaling a desire to shape stories rather than just star in them. The results were mixed. Some praised his directorial vision, while others felt his inexperience showed. But it was undeniable proof that he was seeking growth. For audiences who worried he had become stagnant, this step suggested he still had surprises to offer. In addition to directing, he sought roles that edged closer to drama, attempting to balance his comedic reputation with deeper storytelling. Some of these projects performed well, while others struggled to find footing. Yet each attempt reflected a man unwilling to be boxed in by his past successes. Rather than resting on the safety of his established image, he was inching toward a reinvention, even if the process was uneven. Despite the criticisms, Huang Bo's core reputation remained intact. He avoided the scandals that had destroyed other stars. No reports of substance abuse, extramarital affairs, or financial fraud ever gained traction around his name. His image as a grounded, family-oriented man continued to resonate with the public. In a world where celebrities often self-destruct under the weight of fame, his ability to remain relatively untainted was a triumph in itself. Today, Huang Bo stands as a figure caught between two narratives. On one hand, he is the symbol of commercial success, the billion-yuan club actor who proved that relatability could be just as powerful as looks in winning over audiences. On the other, he is a man under constant pressure to prove that he is more than just box office insurance. His journey has been one of resilience, but it is also one of constant balancing between art and commerce, between authenticity and strategy, between public expectation and personal ambition. As he continues to act, direct, and navigate an increasingly complex industry, one thing remains clear: Huang Bo's story is not finished. His rise from a bar singer in Qingdao to one of China's most famous actors is already remarkable, but the next chapters will determine how history remembers him. Will he break free from the criticisms of playing it safe, or will he double down on the formula that made him rich and beloved? The answer may define not only his legacy, but also the future of Chinese cinema's most relatable star. Huang Bo stands today as a paradox, both celebrated and questioned, adored by millions, yet constantly pushed to prove he is more than just a box office guarantee. His story is one of resilience, adaptability, and the relentless pursuit of relevance in a cutthroat industry. Whether he will ultimately be remembered as China's comedic everyman or as a visionary artist remains uncertain, but his impact is undeniable, reshaping what it means to be a star in modern China. For more stories that reveal the untold truths behind fame, subscribe to Criminal Tracks, where the spotlight never hides what lies beneath.